When we talk about the housing crisis in the Czech Republic, I firmly believe that reintroducing 100% mortgages for young families could be part of the solution. At present, the biggest obstacle for most young couples is not the monthly repayment itself, but the initial down payment. Saving up 20 or 30% of the property's value takes years, and during that time, prices often rise even faster. In other words, by the time people finally have enough money for a deposit, the apartment or house they were hoping to buy has already become unaffordable. A 100% mortgage would remove this barrier and allow families to start building equity much earlier in their lives. Critics always bring up the American subprime mortgage crisis of 2008. I don't deny that it was a disaster, but the root cause wasn't the concept of full financing itself. It was the fraudulent scoring practices and the reckless behavior of mortgage brokers who deliberately approved loans for people who obviously couldn't repay them. They manipulated documents, exaggerated incomes, and sold risky products just to earn commissions. That is a completely different situation. If proper regulation and transparent assessment are in place, 100% mortgages need not lead to the same catastrophe. Of course, I admit that taking such a large loan would heavily indebt households. Yet, in the context of the Czech Republic, where unemployment is low and job opportunities are relatively stable, most young families would be able to manage temporary financial difficulties. Families are also more resourceful than we often assume. Many could rely on side jobs, family networks, or short-term assistance to cover unexpected gaps in income. Ultimately, housing is a fundamental human need, not a luxury. Offering young families a fair chance to buy their own home through 100% mortgages would strengthen society, reduce uncertainty, and prevent the growing divide between property owners and those left permanently in rental housing.
I completely understand the frustration of young families who cannot afford housing, but I strongly disagree that 100% mortgages would solve the problem. On the contrary, I think they would make the situation even worse. The main issue with housing in the Czech Republic is not just the down payment, but the overall affordability. Prices have skyrocketed because demand far exceeds supply. Offering 100% mortgages would only fuel this demand further, pushing prices even higher and creating a vicious circle in which property becomes even less attainable. We cannot ignore the risk of excessive household debt. A full mortgage means that families start out with no financial cushion whatsoever. Any unexpected life event, a job loss, illness, or simply rising interest rates, can push them into default very quickly. Unlike John, I am not convinced that a period of low unemployment provides real security. Economies fluctuate. The Czech Republic may be stable today, but we all remember 2009, when thousands of people suddenly found themselves without work. If those people had been holding 100% mortgages, the social consequences would have been disastrous. I also think it is too easy to blame the U.S. mortgage crisis entirely on corrupt brokers. Yes, fraud played a role, but the fundamental problem was lending money to people without requiring them to share any risk. When borrowers have no personal investment, no savings, no stake in the property, they are far more likely to walk away when difficulties arise. That moral hazard cannot be underestimated. Instead of encouraging dangerous levels of borrowing, we should focus on increasing the supply of affordable housing through public investment, support for cooperative housing projects, or incentives for developers to build smaller, reasonably priced units. Real reform lies in structural change, not in repeating risky financial experiments.